Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what was supposed to be the next big thing, but totally flopped? Google Glass. I heard one of the biggest issues was that it was too heavy and felt uncomfortable, but they literally couldn't make it any lighter. I was creeped out by the commercials where that one guy identified a bartender's face and looked up her Facebook to get details on her interests before hitting on her by using his Google Glass. Edit: I cannot find the commercial, so it may have been, as comments said, a spoof. I have a pretty distinct memory of my father and I watching it on normal TV as a commercial and both of us looking horrified at the end because it was playing off as Google Glass making you suave and smooth. So maybe I'm mixing up the memory. 3D TV. Clearly remember thinking, these companies have lost their fucking minds. There's practically nothing 3D to watch. TV shows weren't available in 3D and weren't about to be filmed in 3D. Catalogs of old favorites would never be 3D. It's like the entire 3D industry was made for Avatar, which, while a little bit neat, I never intended to watch a second time. Reminded me of all the bullshit hype surrounding DVDs at first. Like I could watch a scene from Terminator 2 from any angle I wanted. Like I'd be able to watch any movie scene from any angle I wanted. Never ever saw that feature utilized. Edit: thank you for the helpful feedback on multi-angle viewing. Clearly, I did not watch enough porn DVDs. The any-angle feature of DVD was a hugely touted feature and I think I only saw it on the DVD for the remake of my favorite Martian. Heard a stat from one of the 3D TV manufacturers that the average number of pairs of 3D glasses sold per 3D television was a number very much smaller than one. I think they were too embarrassed to actually tell everyone how tiny the attach rate was. Can confirm, sort of. Best Buy went all in on 3D TV and it flopped hard, enough so by the time it was dying down they were having manufacturer deals where you could get 4 pairs of glasses free with every TV just so the manufacturers could clear out stock and be able to claim that adoption was rising. Still didn't work. Google Plus was supposed to be the answer to Facebook. That was a lesson on how not to handle hype. There was so much hype around Google Plus, it was infectious. But they refused to open it up to everyone and maintained a very hardline invite-only system. Even once hype had peaked and there was a notable decline, still they maintained a small invite-only system. I remember by the time they decided to open it up to everyone the hype was well and truly dead and no one bothered with it. They should have cashed in when hype was high, but they, I assume, got greedy, thinking the hype would just infinitely increase and people wouldn't get bored waiting to get in. And then they tried to force it upon everyone by integrating it with YouTube. From what I've gathered in this thread, Google threw a lot of shit to see if it would stick a mayo. That's basically their business model. I read somewhere, ages ago, that Google was willing to try just about anything there are and people put out there, and if it didn't look like it was going to be $1 billion return, they'd can it and move on. Also, a lot of things they cancel have features that end up in their mainstream projects. Like the conversation view, mail categories, trip thing, snoozing from inbox are all just part of Gmail now. Not entirely relevant, but I liked the trend where everybody wanted the smallest cell phone possible. For 20 years cell phones got smaller and smaller, often being the main selling point of the phone. Then all of a sudden you could watch videos on your phone, and almost overnight the trend reversed to larger is better. Now I want to watch Zoolader. His phone was hilariously small. Google Wave. It was supposed to replace email with a more collaborative approach. Essentially it was like a dynamically created discussion board you'd share with select people and you could have a more readable discussion than one with a bunch of forwards and CCs and the like. I thought it was a good idea, but it flopped big time and Google got rid of it after a few years. This was by far the best collaborative platform for planning trips I have experienced. I took a lot of backpacking trips. And we could all combine research, having a collected map, take stock of inventory etc. in one place. Now I see people putting that stuff into a Google Doc and it kind of sucks by comparison. RIP Google Wave. I worked with a guy who used Wave. We collaborated on a personal project using it and it was a great tool. We also used it to plan some game nights at the office and it worked well for that too. Honestly, I think it was almost ahead of its time. I see similar collaboration concepts now in Microsoft Teams and it's highly used by my company. So many Google products on this thread: Google Wave, Google Plus, Google Wave. Edit, and Google Wave. I meant Google Glass, but did I mention Google Wave? Don't forget Google Wave. Never forget Google Wave. I loved Google+. Especially circles. Facebook tries to force you to reveal every interaction you have with someone to everybody else, but Google respected that people have different circles of friends and we don't necessarily want worlds colliding. It's like Facebook thinks grandma really should know about your fetish group and drunken bar nights and your religious Aunt Edna should see every comment you make in that atheist group. It's like Mark Zuckerberg is just a simplistic robot who thinks more interaction equals more good. The mistake was making it invite-only like Gmail. Gmail was a fabulous upgrade to something everyone already had, email, so everyone wanted the much better version. Wave, on the other hand, was a new concept. They should have been desperate for people to try it out and get creative with it, but instead they restricted access. Airship travel. These were the next awesome way to travel long distances. In fact, the spire on top of the Empire State Building was meant as an anchoring point for airships. The Heidelberg kind of put a damper on it, though. Anyone remember the Archer episode where he was aboard a helium, I think, airship and he kept smacking people for lighting cigarettes and stuff, repeatedly failing to understand it wasn't hydrogen. Lol, classic. Which part of this aren't you getting? Well, obviously the core concept, Lana. I maintain that the bomb defusal scene from that episode is one of the funniest things ever put on television. My favorite being when Ray corrects Archer's B to Bravo because they are supposed to be using the NATO phonetic alphabet but Archer thinks he's being praised and says thanks before going to the next letter. It's too sad. I would have loved it if airships were a bigger thing today. And the early German airships are just so cool, minus the Nazi stuff of course. I always loved using the Kirov airships from Red Alert 2. Always looked ridiculous sending a crapload over bundled together but there's something badass about a slow-moving bomber. Too bad helium is and was so damned expensive. It's a non-renewable resource. Technically, we could reproduce some amounts of helium if needed, but the cost to do so would far outweigh that commercial benefit. Once our major supply runs out, that's it. Helium is also a finite resource, a fake. And we also rely on it for CAT scans and stuff. A few years ago there was a big hype about how we're wasting helium, no idea where we are with it now. The Segway. It was supposed to change the way everyone lived. The invention of the century or something like that. A really big deal. Then someone decided to take off the handle, call it a hoverboard. Those boards don't work on water. Didn't some guy run off a cliff on one and die? The inventor did. Yes, Jimmy Heseldy, a British entrepreneur who owned the Segway company. Segways were supposed to revolutionize travel and replace the automobile. Now they're just used for guided tours for dorks in tourist traps. It cannot be overstated how much hype there was around the Segway, or how completely it failed to live up to the hype. Correction, the number of replies to this comment have forced me to consider that it can be overstated. For anyone who wasn't really around for that. It was marketed as the new form of transit before anyone saw pictures or had details about it. This isn't a case of here's an electric scooter thing and hype built up until it was released. It was mountains of pre-reveal hype followed by it all evaporating the instant people saw what it was. Also rent-a-cops in upscale shopping and apartment areas. And university campus security. That fake fat they put in chips in the IoTs that made everyone poop their pants. Edit, thanks for the silver, obligatory of course my top comment is anal leakage. I was on a Boy Scout camping trip when these were coming out. Someone walked around giving out free bags as a promotion. A bunch of young teenage boys getting a bag with a loose stool warning on it devolved into 24 to 48 hours of conversation about nothing but loose stool pretty quickly. Edit, picture of label added. http://imga.com/a/llgwzp6. I think the term used in the packaging was anal leakage. From our can to yours was the best tagline that never happened. May cause anal leakage, I forget which show it was, but remember the guy reading the bag and asking who the fuck puts that on the bag. Do not eat Pringles fat-free potato chips. They will grease your ass. Don't even fucking say a word. I like potato chips, and can't eat them very much or I'll get fat. I tried out these Pringles fat-free chips because they were super low-cal. Barbecue flavor. The fuck? The can said they had 70 calories per serving, which meant the whole can had 490 calories inside total. I could munch through a can in a day with my lunch, dinner, etc. So I got several cans, and began enjoying one a day for the past 4 days. But what they don't fucking tell you. Except in tiny print you can't read without a fucking electron microscope. Is that the primary ingredient is something called olea, which I have since learned is Latin for you washable and indestructible ass grease. Oh yeah. I'm not even kidding. So today, while I'm standing in the living room debating whether or not laundry or dishes will get done first, I get the urge to fart. I live alone, so sweet. I let the honk loose and it's wrong. Something just sounded wrong. I know my own wind, and I have never farted a sound that sounded like a fart wrapped in a pillow. Oh yes, something was very wrong. I had just shat myself. But this evil olea makes shitting yourself sound almost like a regular fart, and had I not been particularly attentive, it could easily have gone unnoticed, I'm telling you. That's how utterly covert and evil this olea stuff is. What the fuck? What if I'd gone out to hang with friends or gone for a drive, what then? So I walk carefully to the bathroom and disrobe. Before I even sit on the toilet, I wad paper and carefully wipe from the front. Sure enough, it was light brown, and had the texture of soft spackle. You fucking Pringle bastards. I sat down and pushed a bit, and lo, out came a jet that I didn't even feel an urge for 1 minute earlier. It piled in the bowl like brown marshmallow fluff. The problem rose when I tried to wipe. I went through a whole fucking roll of TP and could not get it all off me. So I jumped in the shower. Yep, it's gross, but it had to be done. There I stood, water pouring down, cheeks spread, and using my own hand to make certain I'm clean. That was when I discovered that after using my hand to wipe myself, before I soaped the area, my hand came back covered in some sort of transparent grease. It was so fucking foul. The grease made water bead off my hand. It was tacky too, and very difficult to manage. So I grabbed the bar of syrup and went to work. You fucking Pringle bastards. The bar of soap came away coated in grease as well, and would no longer wash. I had to turn the water to hot and massage the soap for 5 minutes to get it to the point where I could use it again. It took me an hour to get the fucking grease off my pucker. I shudder to think of what it's doing inside me right now, but I will damned sure never eat that shit again. Fucking Pringle bastards. Olestra. Edit, https://m.youtube.com. Good shit.